They knew in their heads what to do. They must use their resources effectively to do a good job that honors the God that sends Jesus to be with us. And when they see this woman anoint Jesus with the Chanel of oils of nard, they think first about how much more effective these resources could be used. About a year's wages. Think about what they could do with that money, the number of people that they could work with, that they could send out, the people that they could feed and clothe, the people with whom they can proclaim the good news with that money. And these followers, they are appalled. They are angry. They yell at her. What a waste. And then Jesus surprises them and us, as he always does, and says, no, you got it wrong. This woman will always be remembered when the good news is proclaimed. What? Is there something that we're not getting here, that the disciples are not getting here? They sold everything they had, and they've been following this guy. They know what's going on. She seems to discard or not really care about all these things that she's been learning, or about the disciples have been learning about what it means to follow Jesus. So, what is it? Perhaps if we thought about what might prompt one of us to do the same, we might start to get a clue. What would prompt you or I to do something like that? And my sense is that maybe if we are able to stand or sit, as the woman did, in awe of Jesus, to let oneself be moved by Jesus. And this woman does that. She sees Jesus as the Christ, the one, the Messiah in that moment. And my sense is that she didn't do this just by knowing and seeing and trying to imitate, but she stops and she lets the sense of awe and quiet. She does not say any words in this story. All sense of words, of time, of money, all that diminishes. And she sits and just has this little act of worship, honoring Jesus in her life. And there's this kind of moment there. It's kind of sacred. It's kind of special. And she savors it. And Jesus, feeling quite touched, responds in kind and says, this woman will be talked about forever, throughout the whole world. Her just being silent with Jesus and having this moment, recognizing who Jesus really is and being moved to this extravagance is something worthy of teaching forever. So what might this mean for little Jessica or Matthew or Samantha as they learn the ABCs of the faith, the stories, places, people, liturgy, songs? Like the disciples, we learn what Jesus wants. We learn about faith. We learn about God. We have our understandings. And these are all things that the church yearns to teach and should teach. And all of this is up here. This is good to know. But perhaps what Jesus recognizes here in this woman, in this extravagant action, she's sitting in awe. She cares. She's quiet. And she notices how special Jesus is in that moment, and she is quiet. She savors that. And maybe for Christian education, this shifts our intent a little bit. Our angle moves. And we don't worry so much about numbers of people, the efficiency of our work, as much as first being able to sit and be in awe. And this kind of extravagant action is the A in the ABCs of faith. Or if you want to be more biblical, the alpha of the faith. And perhaps we can begin with picturing ourselves in this woman's place. We allow ourselves to be moved to give our deepest respect, our whole selves, to the moment we spend with Jesus first. And we don't worry about all of the disciples yelling around us, trying to distract us. This happens. It happens in our week. It happens in our relationships, in our church, in our Sunday schools, our jobs, whatever it might be. We hear the voices scolding us as we try to savor in recognizing Jesus as the Christ. But once we start to listen, once we learn that A of the faith, open ourselves first to Jesus, being quiet, being generous with our resources of time and quietude, we can then begin to reflect a little bit more of the faith. We can begin to be a little more Christ-like. Amen.